My dad was a stuntman back in the late 40s and early 50s, and I always thought that he had just done the Westerns, you know, the falling off the second-story saloon balconies and falling off of running horses and that kind of thing. But I found out years later that he actually had done a lot of car stunts as well. So I guess it's in the DNA. My name is Denise, and this is my automotive story. When I was growing up, as a little kid, I remember just loving cars. I thought all the cars had, you know, faces on them. They all had expressions on them, depending on what their grille looked like and their headlights and so forth. And I just have always been kind of a car nut, even as like a 3-4-year-old kid. So again, fast forward a lot of years later, back at the newsletter was a race car for sale. And it was an old E21, 323 gray market car, and it was $4,000. So I said, you know what, I think I can find a way to buy this car. So I bought that, and my husband and I went racing. We shared the car. We actually went to an autocross first, and we did one autocross, and at the end of the day I turned him and I said, you know what, this isn't doing it for me. I really want to be on a racetrack with other cars. He said, okay, and we went and signed up for the SCCA school, and in about 30 days later, and we had our licenses, and we started racing. This was back in 2003, and we pretty much raced every race that we could race through the year, like 2 weekends a month. I actually had my last race in 2014, which it was a great race. I raced the orange car. I ended up finishing first in my class and first overall. I had a great weekend, but I ended up getting heat exhaustion. And so that kind of ended my racing career. I just can't take the heat. So I still love track days. I still love to drive the car, but I just can't do the, you know, multi-day race events anymore. So I raced BMWs. I had always wanted to learn how to race, and I haven't really ever raced a Porsche, so I don't know what that's like, but I love the balance feel of a BMW on a track, especially the E46 M3 is an amazing track car, and I love it. So back again in the late 70s, I was living in Belmont Shore in Long Beach, and I could hear these engines, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was. Turns out there was the Grand Prix, the Long Beach Grand Prix was happening, you know, just a couple of miles from my house. And so I somehow finagled tickets to go to this, and sitting in the grandstands, I remember thinking, I don't know how, I don't know when, but someday I need to learn how to do this, because this looks like way too much fun. Something about the lines of a Porsche, to me, it looks like a piece of art. If I could have it in my living room, I would have it in my living room. I just think they're beautiful. You look at a Porsche, it's just a very unique shape and style, and the old ones, and through the years to what the current cars are today, I think they're all absolutely gorgeous cars. I love the sounds. The 997, which is, you know, the model that I have, and I just really liked the lines of it, and I liked how it was one of the first to have the LED lights on it, and I really liked the taillight assembly and the headlights and the lines of it. It's got really wide rear fenders and nice big fat tires, and the 4 exhaust pipes on this particular model I just love. And so anyway, I had found this one for sale just a few months ago, actually, and I hadn't really seen a 911 in this color. It's macadamia, and it's got the kind of caramely tan interior, and I kind of fell in love with the color. For me, I guess I'm a color girl. I love color. That's how I ended up with that car. There's something very special about driving a vintage Porsche in particular. The color number one, and then the sound of it, and the way it drives, the way it handles. I mean, even for a car that's this age, it handles amazingly well. On twisty roads, at high speeds, it's got tons of power, sounds good. So I own a 1969 911E, and interestingly enough, it's in a very unique color, golden green. Standard color in 1968, but special order in 1969. I grew up in Orange County, California, and I actually saw this car driving around Newport Beach back in probably the late 70s, and I just fell in love with the color. And I liked the color so much, I had an MGB GT at the time, and I had it painted the same color. So fast forward, a lot of years later, and I have a friend back in Orange County who resells a lot of vintage Porsches, and this car was sitting there. And it didn't hit me right away, but I started walking around it and circling the car, and it just kind of came back to me that this is the car. It has the gold lettering on the engine cover. I remember the Chick Iverson license plate frames from back in the day. I started getting goosebumps and realized this was the car. This was the car. And so I had to have it. Looking back and seeing that I've actually owned 25 cars since I've had a driver's license, I think there may be another car in our future. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm always kind of on the hunt. There's something called Bring a Trailer, and I look at that website almost every day. But I'm not in the immediate market for anything, but I'm not going to say that there won't be another car in my future.